This meeting is being recorded.
All right, what up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Pam Hill, who is the founder and managing director of My Smart Cousin, where they teach you how to buy a house for the price of a car. Pam, how you doing?
Doing well, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And we like to jump right in. So if you could start with telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Sure thing. Absolutely. All right. So my name is Pam Hill. I'm a native New Yorker for any New Yorkers who are out there in the audience. And what I like to do for fun is actually pursue this both hobby as well as passion and business of real estate investment coupled with coaching folks. So on the real estate investment side, what I've been doing is, for almost 10 years now, buying houses for the price of a car. And when I say a house, I mean a whole house, not the down payment on the house. Lowest price I've paid is 2,500. The highest price I've paid is 35,000. And I've done this for 25, coming up on 26 soon, houses here in Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And so why I call that fun is because I really do believe in folks getting a piece of this American pie. And, I, in particular, focus on women and Black and brown folks and making sure that there's some teeth behind this notion of legacy building. So for me, it's just a lot of fun to talk about doing this so that it feels real for others and they can pursue it as well.
I love it. I love it. So is that your main thing now? Like that's all you do, run
Yes.
My Smart Cousin, coaching, and then real estate investment as well?
It's the main thing. It's not the only thing I do. I also do some consulting work on the side, but it is the main thing. Before that, I was in the energy industry, so worked there some 20 plus years, and that was a lot of fun too on the electric utility side. But this is a whole lot more engaging and enduring. So that's part of how I'm working to per your podcast working to live the dream and to share the dream with folks.
I love it. I love it. Tell us a little bit more about your motivation. What gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Absolutely. So my motivation is really built around this notion of giving back, and I mean, I guess for me, it's almost like an obligation. So that's what gets me up and keeps me going. When I say obligation, meaning gee, there's so many ways that probably all of us are fortunate in some measure, and so I just keep that at the front of my mind. I write every day something very small. It's almost like a daily momentum type thing, where I write a sentence about what is the thing that I did, just something tiny that I did that contributed to myself and to trying to make this place a better place for all of us. I write down a sentence around gratitude, and then I write down a sentence around proof, meaning how do I know that what I'm doing is working. Sometimes nothing pops up, and other days there's a lot of proof points that show up. So that's what keeps me motivated, is just kind of staying anchored to that, because time time moves in a way that you don't feel like it's moving as it occurs, and then you look up and a year has passed and 5 years have passed and so on. So that's a way for me to stay grounded and make sure that I feel like I'm getting something uh, out of this journey.
There we go. There we go. I love to hear it. And before we jump into dreams and goals, are you going to tell us how to pick up properties for the price of a car? Or
Yes, I am. Darn it. Yes, I
love it. There we go.
am.
Go for it. Go
All
for it.
right. Go for it. All right. Awesome. So here's what you do. First of all, you figure out the locations in the US that you're interested in buying. Now, I'm going to give this big giant caveat, which is that there are states out there that are impossible to buy a house for the price of a car. So I'm talking to you, California, Alaska, Hawaii, quite a lot of the West Coast, actually. But astonishingly, a lot of the East Coast is possible. When I talked about buying for 35,000, I'd say the last house that I bought at that price would have been in 2016. And actually, it's the house that my husband and I live in a nice solid neighborhood in suburban Philly. Um, Now, I would say you need to draw the circle a little wider, more like the 50 to maybe $60,000 neighborhood. But even there, more than half of the states in the U.S. have houses that are that price. New York, as an example, not New York City. No, forget it. New York State, yes, absolutely. I'm thinking Albany, Schenectady, Binghamton. Uh, Parts of Buffalo. So these are places that maybe aren't like right in the crosshairs of where folks think about all the action is as far as excitement. But regular people live there. Regular people need a house. So that's how you do it. You focus on states that are still affordable. I would say the easiest way to do it is to go on Zillow or go on Realtor. Like that's one fast way to do it. Put down the entire state, let's say New Jersey, as an example, and then filter for at least one bathroom. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of stuff in there, vacant land or what have you. So at least one bathroom, probably at least two bedrooms. Put in a max price of, let's say, 60,000, and then a minimum price of maybe 10,000, and then I don't know, at least 1,500 properties are going to pop up. Not all of them clearly are going to be good, solid ones. But I would think you'll see for the state of New Jersey, you'll probably see maybe about 40-ish or so right now that make it to that $60,000 neighborhood. Other states, you'll see a lot more. Pennsylvania, the western side of Pennsylvania, so towards Pittsburgh, there you might see a good 100. The Midwest, my goodness, you're going to see hundreds in the state of Ohio, in the state of Illinois. Same
Yeah.
thing with the southeast part of the U.S. So that's the easiest way to start. And then from there, start looking at auctions. That's another good place to pick them up. But I would counsel you to be a lot more seasoned before you try anything with an auction, because those are sight unseen, essentially. You can see the outside, but not the inside.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm refreshed that you told people to just go to Zillow and Realtor.com. I thought this was going to be go to PropStream, pull a list, skip trace it, text kind of off-market owners, which is a way to get good. You can get discounted properties for sure, texting off-market owners, but that's more getting into the real estate business side of things, and you really have to be kind of business savvy to go that route. Whereas like you really can go to Cleveland, Ohio, and you can get a duplex for $30,000. Like,
Aren't you looking at it right now? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It's just a matter of knowing that you really can. Like they really are there for sale. I just got off a call, and this is this is not truly going to be a house for the price of a car, because it's going to cost you a little more than that. But I just got off of a land bank call. So the land bank, there's some 200 land banks across the U.S., and these are essentially nonprofit entities that are set up to buy back property that's vacant, blighted, what have you. And sometimes they sell the house for $1, so-called $1 homes. Other times they'll sell it for maybe 2 or 3,000. Of course, the caveat is that you have to fix it up. They won't just give you some shell for $2,000. You have to give them a budget and show that you're going to fix it up, and it needs everything. So it's probably going to cost 60 or maybe 80,000. But at the end of the day, in particular for people who are in two categories: one, they want to live in the house, or two, they want to flip the house. In either of those categories, they're going to get a house that is brand new after the 60 to $80,000 fix up, and it's going to be mighty hard to find a brand new, everything gutted house at that price, pretty much anywhere. So that's the benefit of going that route.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so for those people who don't have 60 to 80,000 just cash ready
Right,
to,
what to do then?
yep.
Right. So on this call, this particular land bank that I was talking to, and it was open, it was for the public. It wasn't like, hey, Pam Hill, we got a secret to tell you. So for this one, it was 30%, and it was the Wilmington, Delaware Land Bank. And you don't have to be a Wilmington resident or a Delaware resident. They certainly give preference for that, but you don't have to be that. But anyway, they said that a 30% down payment is what you would need to show that you have. So if the house costs, by the time you fix it up, 80 grand, then 30 or 35% would be some 25,000 or something like that. And they let you show your 401k and those kinds of assets. And then the rest would have to come through a construction loan. You do raise a good point, though, like sort of putting that kind of money off to the side. Your regular bank. So I don't know, pick a big bank, Bank of America, Chase, Citi, what have you. Those banks are not going to be lining up. Most unfortunately, they're not going to be lining up to give you a mortgage that's $50,000 or $60,000, because it costs them just as much money or more, certainly more time, to paper a deal that's only 50,000 versus a deal that's 250,000, meaning a mortgage
Yep.
that's 250, and clearly they're going to make a whole lot more. So that's one of the constraints for people, to build up these communities again, is getting that financing. And sadly, that's why, and that's an advantage that investors have. They shouldn't have it. These homes very much should be open and available to your regular community folk, but what is said versus what is available are two different things.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. There we go. Well, now we are going to jump into your dreams and goals. So tell us about your vision for your company and your life.
Absolutely. So vision for my company is to one coach. So it's my vision is not even so much on the investment side, although I do have a vision there. But really, my vision is, if I could coach 1,000 people, that would be a dream come true, because that's 1,000 lives that I will have changed. So that is a vision, and I am the sort of person that I suspect a large part of how I will end up doing that coaching is through podcasts like yours, and other such venues. And while certainly something that's income based is preferred, I wouldn't let it stop me. I still would share the information no matter what, because to me, it's more important that the information get out than that someone pay me to get the quick path on how to do it. So that's one dream, is just to change those lives and see a lot more home ownership, and investorship, as it were, by Black people, and by women, and brown people. And then, so the vision for my life is to make sure that I live true to that, I suppose. Life is very much, I guess it's almost like a sine wave of ups and downs. And the good news about that for anyone who is on the downside is, fear not. The other side of the rainbow, as it were, is heading your way. And certainly for those who feel like life is fantastic right now, enjoy that, realize it, write it down. Hey, I'm having a fantastic moment in life right now, so that you don't forget what that feels like when challenges come, and plan for those challenges. Um, Plan for them economically, plan for them with your own resilience, and the friends and family that you have around you to help you through it as it occurs.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So we got coach 1,000 people and live true to helping Black and brown people, specifically women, get into home ownership, get into the
Yeah.
investing game.
Yes.
There we go. Well, if there were one or two people that you could meet right now, and this could be a specific person or a type of person, and they could really help you with these two dreams and goals, who would they be? And how would they do
Well, come on now, Oprah Winfrey, and just in case you know her,
it?
never gonna hesitate to put something out into the universe. So good old Oprah, and then another one who's less well known, but is a real force. I feel, a lady named Arlen Hamilton. So I'll talk about Arlen Hamilton maybe first, since she's not as well known. She has a podcast called Your First Million, or maybe it's called My First Million. I believe it's called Your First Million. And she is someone who is a venture capitalist, and I think she refers to herself as a venture catalyst. And she's probably the first large in terms of number of enterprises that she invests in, um, the largest Black venture capitalist. She invests, I think she's invested in some 200 companies at this point, and focuses on the technology front. So as you can tell, I'm a real fangirl. So um, I think she is doing great things. She tells her story as someone who was homeless, and I'd say it wasn't like super long ago homeless. And I'm talking living on the street, living in an airport, homeless, and that was about 15 years ago. So anyway, she's someone who I really enjoy listening to her podcast. And then of course Oprah Winfrey, because she is just a force of nature. And I just so enjoy watching her. I remember in the beginning, when she used her powers for good, as it were, in terms of creating a school for young girls in South Africa, and sort of seeing herself as the mother to those girls. And now it's probably thousands of them that she's helped. So those would be the two I would pick. And how they would help me, to the second part of your question, is really just through amplifying this message. Um, I am surely not the onlyest person in the world who can help people with investment, but every voice counts, and hearing it in different corners and in different ways is crucial. So I would certainly be helpful from that. Don't take your telescope and look sort of to the farthest part of the horizon that you can and build your household budget based on that. Hey, the bank said I can afford a $500,000 home. Realtor, show me $500,000 homes. No, sir. Turn that telescope the other way around. Look from cheapest on up, and then artificially set it a whole lot lower. And that will be enough, my friend.
There we go. There we go. I love it. And what are the most important one or two things that everyday people can do to help you accomplish your dreams and goals? So you meet Sally at the grocery store, and Sally's like, Pam, how can I help you out? What would you tell her?
I would tell Sally, refer me, right? So go ahead and refer me to one or two of your friends, Sally. And particularly if they are friends that don't have a house, they're renting, because I would love to, in particular, make a difference in their lives. And then, second, Sally, if you know any folks who are in the media industry, for me to have an opportunity to participate as a podcast guest, as a article contributor on a TV or video program, that sort of thing. That's what I would say to Sally, and to the many Sallys and Johnnies out there.
There we go. There we go. I love it. And now we're going to jump into our Thriving Three. Our first question is, what is your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
Okay. Well, I've already given it away with Arlen Hamilton's uh, Your
Podcast.
First Million. Exactly. So that would be my favorite podcast. Um, Gosh, I would say another one, maybe another second runner up is Ira Glass's This American Life. So that would probably be my second one.
Gotcha. Is that a podcast?
It is a podcast. Well, it had been a radio show back when that was the way to listen, but now it's a podcast, This American Life, and it's an NPR, National Public Radio show.
Gotcha. Gotcha. You know, I did not make the connection that radio transitioned to podcast until I had a podcast and people were like, you know, you'd make a really good radio host. I was like, why do people say that? That's so weird. I don't want to be a radio host.
All a podcast is a radio show.
I know. Yeah.
It's nothing but a radio show.
And I completely understand that now, but I did not make that connection at all. And I thought it was the weirdest thing when people are like, yeah, you have a great radio voice. You'd be a great podcaster. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? It's the same for anybody who's great at blogging. And if we told them, you'd make a good journalist. What? Huh? Yeah, a blog ain't nothing but an article, a
Yeah,
newspaper article.
exactly. No, it's funny how the internet has transformed those things, but at the root, they're still the same.
They're exactly the same.
Yeah.
The only thing that really has transformed is the name
Yeah. The name, and then the kind of like
and the
means,
scope.
scope and
Yes.
means of like transmission. You don't have to go through like these big
Yes, tuning a
numbers.
dial.
Yeah, exactly. Well, awesome. What is one way you like to take care of yourself?
I would say just by being out and one with nature. So I'm not huge into hiking, as most New York City folks are not, but I love to walk. And so sometimes I do that with my headphones on, but I recommend taking them off from time to time and letting life crash in its full force all around you.
There we go. There we go. I love it. And what is one action step you can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to meet either Oprah Winfrey or Arlon Hamilton?
Oh my goodness. I'd say me putting it out in the universe just now was a gigantic action step. That would have been the sort of thing that I would just sort of half tell friends and family. So me now putting it out in this thing called the internet slash your radio program is huge.
There we go. There we go. And now we're going to jump into our final series of questions. So I did not send these questions beforehand. And they require a lot of pretext. So it's totally okay to say I don't know and stick with me
Okay.
while I read them. Okay.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. So a lot of people have come on the podcast and they said that the catalyst that helps people change from having a fixed mindset, not willing to accept help and not willing to accept change, to having a growth mindset, being willing to accept help and being willing to accept change, the catalyst that helps people make that switch is a personal choice that happens after either extreme inspiration or extreme desperation. Do you agree, disagree, have anything to add or subtract?
Okay, I would agree. I would agree, A, that it is a personal choice, personal in that it's within your control. Nothing is 100% in your control, so obviously we have to give that um, as a bit of context. And I would also say some things are easier for other people. Our human wiring naturally differs from person to person. So some folks have a more predilection towards an open mindset. But that said, once you've learned about it, it is to some degree in your control to grow that. And certainly tipping points like some gigantic, wonderful bit of luck or either good or bad is going to make it more likely that you nurture that growth mindset.
There we go. I love it. And so, given the same amount of inspiration or desperation, why do you think some people make the choice to change and others don't?
Well, some of that is going to be because of, again, the wiring. So some folks are just going to have an easier time at it. No different than if you're born left-handed. You're going to always be better writing with your left hand than the person who's born right-handed and has had to practice and practice. So some of it is just going to be inborn. And I venture to say I think that might be the bigger part of it. But outside of that, then I'll go ahead and say the environment. So for some people, let's face it, they just have more available to them, and thus an easier ability at it. So let's say, for example, that you are not poor, you are in the middle, maybe you're wealthy. In either of those circumstances, you have a whole lot more time, certainly free time, to ponder things like how to grow your mindset than the person who has about 2 seconds to think about that in between the 2,800 other things that you have to balance and that take time when you are poor. So I would say environment is the second factor.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so some people need a smaller amount of desperation or inspiration to change, and others need a larger, more consistent amount. What do you think establishes that threshold, and can it be influenced?
Yes. So to the second part of the question, yes, absolutely, it can be. And then to the first around degree or amount and what causes that. Um, I would say some of that is education. So not necessarily school, book smart type education, but time spent around the concept of growth mindset and what it involves, and really diving in, probably having a strong peer network or set of colleagues, like-minded folks who can reinforce this in you and remind you to cultivate that growth mindset when you find yourself spinning down towards your basement behaviors, as it were. They can help pull you out of it. So I think, as Hillary Clinton has mentioned, it takes a village in raising a child. I'm sure it takes a village to change one's mind. And deepening a growth mindset is surely that.
I love it. And we got one last question for you. So for this question, keep in mind a person who has a really fixed mindset, they're not willing to accept help, and they're not willing to accept change. So in Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the 4 laws of changing your behavior. And the laws are to make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. With that context in mind, and the avatar I just told you to keep in your head, how can we, you and I, create an environment that makes it more obvious, more attractive, more easy, and more satisfying for that avatar to make the choice that will change their life?
Okay, so I guess we'll take them one at a time. So how can we make it more obvious to build a growth mindset and change? Um, One easy way is through cues, physical cues. So in other words, let's say Post-it notes. That's probably the simplest of cues. So having those visible reminders helps helps to give you that mental kick. So that's one way on the obvious side. So now you're going to have to remind me of the others in turn. So we just said obvious. What's the second?
Attractive.
Attractive. Okay. So with attractive, there it's going to be seeing evidence. People often react positively when they see proof. This could be again through the peer set that you have and having them give a testimony almost of how it is that this mindset is changing their life, and certainly them always walking back, well, back when my mind was this way, and all I did was look at the negative, and oh my god, life's awful, and I'll never change, I'm dumb, can't change, dumb, what have you. They can talk about how life was then and how life is now. So that's a way to make it more likely, is by having that proof in front of you.
I love it. And the next one is making it easy. And James Clear says, not necessarily making it easy, but making it easier than the alternative.
Okay. So making it easier than the alternative would be, let me think about that one. It might be also this remembrance of what it looks like when you don't have an open mindset. Either you yourself, maybe you keep a journal. That might be a way to do it. So before you make the commitment to having an open mindset, you first keep a journal of just, look, this is how I work. And it is with a fixed mindset. And so you write that down, how you approach problems for 30 days, and then you make the conscious effort to have the open mindset, and you have someone working with you, and you write down for 30 days how you're addressing problems and how that looks different. And that can sort of clearly help you see the contrast between the two and make it easier.
There we go. And the last one is satisfying.
Satisfying. Okay. So how you can make it satisfying is probably, again, I'd lean heavily on this notion of peers and colleagues, but sharing with them your journey, hearing them share their journey. And that creates its own sense of joy. And you are able to see the growth occur when others recognize how far you have come. So that can make it satisfying.
There we go. Well, awesome, Pam. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was fantastic.
Yeah, and that is all we have for you. Is there anything else you want to chat about before we sign off?
No, this was great. I look forward to seeing how you continue to grow in your journey as you as you share this way of thinking, because you don't hear many people talking about a growth mindset. So I love that you really integrate that into the conversations that you have with folks.
Yeah, no, of course. I love to do it. And I think it is so important for just living a fulfilling life. So there we go. Well, Pam, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Tim. Look
Uh,
forward to it.
Of course. And if you guys are listening to this and you loved what Pam had to say, you know somebody who wants to be a homeowner or somebody who owns a podcast or a space where she can write and they want to have her on it, make sure to refer her. All the ways to contact her and reach her website will be down in the show notes. As we always ask, shoot this podcast over to 1 to 3 people you know need to hear this message. Go ahead and shoot us a 5-star review on iTunes if you liked the show. And on that note, we're out.